everyone, welcome back to the AIDS Talk Show. I'm Jessica and
I'm V.
and we're back with a topic about influential feminists. And these feminists aren't just any feminists, they're feminists from different social classes and different periods of time. And so the first feminist we're going to talk about is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and V would tell us more about this feminist. And so who is she?
So Elizabeth Cady Stanton is the woman leader of the woman movement in the mid to late 1800s. She's also the main force behind the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention. It is the first convention to be called for the sole purpose of discussing women's rights.
And so why did she become a feminist?
So the reason or her motivation for her to be a feminist is when the last brother of her family died at the age of 20. Stanton, when she tried to comfort her father said that, "Oh, my daughter, I wish we were a boy," and she was kind of shocked after she heard her father saying that, so she decided that she wanted to be a feminist.
And so is there anything negative about her, and what was her impact on society?
So despite all of her great work and to the women's right, Stanton strongly supported the abolition of slavery, but she and Anthony, her partner, opposed the 14th and 15th amendments, which enshrined black voting rights in the Constitution. And however, Stanton forever changed the social and political landscape of United States of America by succeeding her work to guarantee rights for women and slaves.
And wow, that was a very interesting brief introduction about Elizabeth Cady Stanton's work and a brief introduction about her life. And so maybe you would like to start by asking us questions about Malala Yousafzai.
Okay, so what is Malala known for?
So Malala Yousafzai is known for human rights advocacy, especially the education of women and children in her native Swat Valley in the northwest of Pakistan, where the local Pakistani children where the local Pakistani Taliban had banned girls from attending schools.
And so I've heard that she is loved. She had received love from many people around the world, but she didn't really receive love from the people from her country. So what's the reason behind that?
Well, some said that Yousafzai's actions are not a model for Pakistani girls, because women should conform to the narrow cultural role that conservative Islam envisions for them. And so right now Yousafzai is campaigning against the Pakistani Taliban, and so something that's going against Islam and against Pakistan. And so they think that Yousafzai isn't a great model for Pakistani girls, and some even protest against her return to the country.
And what does she do that create benefits for the children around the world?
Well, thanks to Malala, children will be able to complete a full course of primary schooling. So children around the world will be able to complete a full course of primary school, and that's the benefit that every single child born has in the world. And also, children in Pakistan have the right to free education, and so they would be able to go to school without having to pay any fees at all, and that's guaranteed by the United Nations. And next we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She is one of the very influential activists in the 20th century, And we heard that she just recently died because of pancreatic cancer, and it's a very sad loss for the US and the whole world. And so maybe we should start by introducing her. So can you give us a brief introduction about Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Okay, so Ginsburg was the first U.S. woman and the second woman to serve in the court and she's also one of the 9 women that got into Harvard School.
And so again, there must be some inspiration behind her becoming a feminist. And so what was that inspiration?
And so when she was studying in Harvard, she was invited into Don's house for dinner, and when he was going around the table to ask every single woman that got into Harvard School, and he asked that, why are you in Harvard Law School, taking a place of a man? And so she spends the rest of her life making sure that no woman had to answer that question again, because surely nobody would want to answer that kind of question.
That's certainly an inspiring story. And so what was her impact on society? Like one of the examples.
Okay, so she talked about many cases and she won a lot of them, but one of the examples for her case is that Ginsburg authored the court's opinion in the United States versus Virginia, which struck down the Virginia Military Institute's male-only admissions policy as violating the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And also, she spent much of her legal career as an advocate for gender equality and women's rights.
And so those are like the 3 very inspiring feminists, and certainly that we also have somebody that's a role model in our mind in these 3. So I would start us off by telling like who is my inspiration, and yeah. And so the person that I chose that inspires me the most is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, because she talks about the abolition of slaves, and that's something that still happens in the 21st century, which in the modern world shouldn't be happening anymore. And so the action that she's done, like being the main force behind the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention, that's like also something that's great about women's rights. And she also chose to abolish slaves, and that's something that not a lot of people can like have the courage and have enough, like power and speech to do. And so who is your inspiration?
And so for me, I think Malala was inspires me the most, because despite her young age, she was very powerful and she was very brave to stand against the Taliban, and also she was not afraid of the Taliban. I know that because her story of being shot by the Taliban 3 times, and because she has grit, so she survived from that, and now she's one of the most inspiring girls in the 21st century.
And yeah, that's like our inspiring feminists in our minds. And we also hope that every single girl in the world also have a role model in their minds, that they could grow up to be the future generation. And so there, talking about future generations, what should future feminists do to improve the problem we have today in the 21st century?
So talking about today's problems, So in the 21st century, we faced a new problem about the difference between men and women's salary. So despite all the effort that women gave into their job, they never seems to have like equal salary, like comparing to men.
Yeah, and so in the future, feminists should be able to carry out campaigns and also protest against the pay gap between men and women, because the pay gap is really large and what women do should deserve more. Because we also wanted that our children would grow up to have a normal and equal life. And so feminists in the future, it's not just feminists, everybody in the future should campaign against pay gap. And that's also one of the first steps to like improve gender equality. And so yeah, the pay gap is the problem that we face in the 21st century, and we're lucky to like have such a equal society like now, because we know that it's almost impossible to have like an equal world in like on earth. And so yeah, so we talked about 3 influential feminists today in today's talk show, which is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Malala Yousafzai, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Not everybody in the world is perfect. There would be some bad and good sides, and when we remember them, we should be able to remember both the good and the bad side. And so that's all for today's talk show, and we'll see you next time. Bye!